Is your determination helping you, or is it stifling you? Is it keeping you stuck? Let's talk about how we view or our perspective on determination. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of the TamaraTamu Collective, where dreams have no filter. So let's talk about it. Is determination hurting you, or is it helping you? Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know I like to look up the definition of words. The word determined, it means to be, taken from dictionary.com, it means to be absolute, resolute, and to have decided. Very neutral, right? Okay, fine. So let's think about the first time, or the first times, moments that we became aware of this word determination. Think about it. Most of us can say that we heard this growing up. Always being taught, well, you have to be determined to get what you want. You have to be determined to get this or that. You have to be determined for something external, right? So then that translated into, okay, you have to be determined, which means you have to put in a lot of hard work, which is attached to a certain desired outcome. So then what does that do? Then you find yourself on a continuous external pursuit. So you're determined, you're working hard, and you hope to achieve some continuous external achievement, right? So all of that involves a lot of control. You feeling like you have to control every step of the how, with no flexibility. So all of that creates a loop for you. And then what happens from childhood to adult, we exist in that same loop, and we apply that loop, those loops of ideas, to everything that we do. Our determination becomes attached. I mean, really attached to an outcome. So what happens? We have some of us, from the determination, from the hard work, from the control, we actually get the results that we want. We find that those results are possible. Then you have some people that go through the same looped process. They don't get the results that they want. So you have a person that gets the results. They see that the results are possible. However, that person now believes to get anything, it has to be approached from the same type of programming. The person that has worked hard did not get the results. They think that they weren't determined enough, or they didn't work hard enough. So they still continue on. In both cases, that can create a certain amount of desperation, and it for damn sure can create burnout in both cases, because you cannot sustain that constant loop. We were not designed to sustain that constant loop of being determined, controlling every single outcome, thinking that we have to force everything with our hard work, with no flexibility. That is not sustainable. Both cases end in burnout, all right? And we know, here's a side note, we already know that burnout leads to illness, physical illness, okay? So When we expand as human beings, when we decide to expand our consciousness, when we decide to consider other possibilities and other ways of being and living, and we determine where we become determined to accept our desires, we can do that without control. We can do that. We can still be determined, but we can infuse freedom in our determination. What does that look like? So, freedom in our determination is without our need or our trying to control every step of the way with our hard work. What does this do? What does freedom do? Well, allow me to look at my notes so I don't miss anything. Freedom causes channels to be open to receive guidance for inspired action. And why is inspired action such an important phrase? Because it keeps us from doing things that are not in line with our genius. It keeps us from telling ourselves, well, I have to do all of these things that I hate in order to get to this certain outcome, which is a fallacy. That is part of the hard work fallacy. It leaves avenues open for magic to be infused in our lives. Yes, I said it, magic. All right. It leaves avenues open for magic and miracles to become the norm in what we experience in our everyday lives. It allows freedom in our determination, allows for unique adventures to unfold beyond what our conventional hard work could ever present to us, could ever provide. When you have freedom integrated with determination, that leaves no room for desperation. No room for desperation. Because while we're desperate, we may be taking all this action, but we're taking action from the standpoint of, oh my God, this is frantic. I don't know. I'm taking all this action. I don't know if this is going to work or if that's going to work. Or I have to call this person, that person. Oh my God, look at my to-do list. All of those things do not allow for freedom. It doesn't allow for trust that you're being guided. It doesn't allow for you to experience quantum leaps after you've taken inspired action. Oftentimes and here's a side note, I didn't plan on talking about this in this video, but oftentimes when we talk about inspired action, we have this expectation that inspired action is supposed to look like always having or taking these grandiose steps, when sometimes inspired action can be sending an email, sending one email that can move the needle, that can quantum leap you into your desire. So that's what freedom does. Freedom leaves no room for desperation. All right. And inspired action is not always about always taking these grandiose steps. And we have to stop. An action is just an action. An inspired action is just an inspired action. Let's just take the labels off of the action being grandiose or small. It doesn't matter. Inspired action is inspired action. All right. So I want to end this video by asking you this question. When you say you are determined to make something happen, or you're determined to achieve something, or you're determined to start this business or write this book, well, is that determination? Is that coming from a place of freedom? And again, freedom and determination is lack of desperation. It does not involve your need to control anything. It leaves room for inspired action. Or is it coming from a place of desperation, where you feel like you have to control the how, where you feel like you have to control every step, where you feel like you have to put in all this hard grinding work? You have to answer that question. So I leave you with that question. If you have any questions or comments for me, please leave them in the comments. And again, I appreciate you for coming through and watching this episode. And until next time, cheers.